Hello guys, welcome. So I am here with Brenda Tapia from Tapia Marquez Law. Brenda, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Just so everybody knows, I have known Brenda for years. I have worked with her for a long time, and she's doing me like the amazing honor of being here with us so we can answer some questions for you guys. Thank you so much, Brenda.
You're welcome, my pleasure.
So we're gonna start with a fun thing. We're gonna start with true or false.
Okay.
Let's see how well you know the Mexican law regarding real estate.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, so here we go. True or false? Foreigners can't own beachfront in Mexico.
That's false. Because there are different structures for them to purchase properties here in Mexico.
Okay, great, awesome. Very good. Next question. You did good on that one. Let's see.
Okay.
A notario is the same as a lawyer.
It's false. A notary, it's appointed by the government to give a legality of certain acts.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, so let's see. Foreigners need a Mexican partner in order to buy a property in Mexico.
False.
Okay, what makes it false?
Because they can purchase a property without any Mexican, according to the structures that I think we are going to speak more deeply in a moment. Yeah, they are able to get it like by their own.
Well, that's good news. Thank goodness for that. Okay, so let's see. Let's keep going. True or false? A fideicomiso means that the bank owns the property, not you.
No, that's false. The fiduciary bank, it's acting just as the fiduciary of the transaction, but the buyers, in this case the foreigners, are the beneficiaries of this structure, and nothing could be done on the property unless they instruct to.
Okay, awesome. So thank goodness. So I have bought things right here in this country. Thank God.
Great.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about contracts and closing. So let's keep going with the true or false. You can back out of a pre-sale without a penalty.
No, that's false. Normally in the promissory agreements, there are included penalties for both parties in case one of them decides to go back of the deal. Okay. So yeah, you could if you want, but a penalty will be applicable.
So it's gonna cost you.
Yeah.
All right, very good. So let's see, a signed offer is legally binding in Mexico.
No, the offer itself, it's not. That's false. But the promissory agreement or the deed, the title, are binding.
Oh, okay. Well, very good. Thank goodness. So let's see. Oh, this is a good one. True or false? Closing costs are always included in the listed price.
That's false. The listing price is just the price for the property you are purchasing. The closing costs are separate from that. Okay. And it's normally, it depends on where the property is located because the taxes are different depending the locations. Okay. But yeah, no, are separate.
Well, thank you for clarifying that. Okay, let's see. Now let's go a little bit into a section about like what like due diligence is and scams. So let's start with the true or false. Is it safe to buy without visiting the property?
It is if you have the correct team on your side. If you have an agent that is doing the inspection of the property, if it's necessary in the case of resales, that agent got an inspector just to review the status on the property, and your agent, because everything, of course, the agent is the one that gives the recommendations to the buyers. If the agent brings to the buyer, to a lawyer that is going to do a due diligence on the property, the buyer should be fine even if they don't visit the property.
Excellent. Okay, so you guys need to come to SusiMacdonald.com because we're good at that. All developers are required to deliver on time. Is that true or false?
That's true because we have a promissory agreement that it's by which they promise to deliver the property by certain time. But of course, especially for pre-constructions, things happen and you never know if there is going to be a hurricane or what is going to happen. So it's normal that in the agreement we have a grace period for them to be able to deliver.
Well, thank you. That was very good, very informative, but I feel that now we need to start going into a little bit more of like the meat and the bones of what it's like to purchase properties here in Mexico. A lot of clients always have a lot of questions. They have a lot of fear sometimes because they feel that they're going to be robbed, or that they're not going to be able to like own whatever it is they're looking into purchasing. So thank you again for coming, so we can clear some of these questions up for them. Okay, so I have my little notes here. So let's talk about the difference between like a trust and a Mexican corporation. So what are the operational implications of a fideicomiso, of a trust, versus a Mexican company?
Yeah. Well, the trust is one of the structures. It's a structure actually that is recommended to purchase the properties that are for residential purposes. Okay. That's the best way to purchase that. It's to do it under a trust. Of course, the lawyer is the one who is going to be able to do everything for you to get the trust permit that is issued by the Secretary of Foreign Affairs. And the buyers, to maintain that trust, only have to pay every year the annual trust fees, which is around $520. Okay. On the other hand, for the Mexican corporation, that structure is recommended when the property is for commercial purposes. Okay. If there is a foreigner that is coming to Mexico to have a business, well, the structure is to set up a Mexican corporation, then it's the Mexican corporation, the one that purchased the company and does all of their business. To maintain that structure, the buyer will need to get, of course, the permits for running their business, and of course filing the monthly and annual tax returns. Okay, so now just for the audience, say that somebody's looking to purchase, I don't know, instead of saying like one unit, they're like, I'm looking at buying 5. Would it be more beneficial to them to stay with the trust, or at that point does a Mexican corporation become a better option for them? Well, if you think about economic, it's going to be better for them to do it under a corporation. Okay. But always have in mind that it's best to do, like the recommended structure is to do it under a trust. We have different benefits, and only with the trust, when you purchase as individual, you have 2 big benefits. The first is that you could designate your substitute beneficiaries in case that the owners pass away. They designated their substitute. Yeah, so this works like a will in Mexico, and will make things easier for the beneficiaries. And the second and most important is that I think that a foreigner that has multiple properties, when they decide to sell the property, they could apply for a capital gain exemption. This is limited once every 3 years, and it's not applicable for the corporations. That's a very big difference. That's very important to know. Okay, let's see, what else do we have here? Can you change a trust to a corporation, or a corporation to a trust, vice versa? Is that something you can switch around? Is it easy? Is it a pain in the butt? Please. Yeah, it's something that could be done. But my recommendation is to the clients that are not certain about that, is just to think about that since the very beginning. Okay. It's possible to do the switch, but the thing is that it will trigger another closing cost. Oh. So the closing cost is about 6 to 8%, or it could be 7 to 9%, depending where the property is located. Okay. So yeah, it's going to be an extra cost. Okay, so it's always good to just make sure that you stick to the strategy that is going to be most beneficial to you, unless you want to be closing, twice. Nobody wants to do that. Of course. Okay. And then, I guess, which of the 2 options gives you more flexibility for a resale, or for maybe like inheritance planning? Would a trust, a fideicomiso, be better, or a corporation? I think it's easier when you have it into a trust, because most of a lot of people, foreigner, purchase things here in Quintana Roo. So when normally their beneficiaries are foreigners, so it's always going to be easier for them to be added into the trust, or to be acknowledged as the new beneficiaries. Because in the trust you can add them already in, so it's very much like I guess in the United States, like a living will.
Yeah?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And in a corporation, you have to go and do an assembly and see who was the partner, and it's kind of if it's residential, the recommendation is always to do it under a trust.
Okay, guys, see? So no more corporations, only residential, okay?
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to keep going. What are some of the things that somebody that is looking to purchase here can do to avoid like the mistake of not hiring the right legal team? Because it can happen. So what can they do to make sure that they're with the best people? I mean, I'm telling you that you are, but you don't have to believe me, but they're awesome. What can they do to make sure that they're picking the right legal team?
I think I don't have an exact answer to that, because it's like when you go to see like a doctor, you go with the one that it feels good for you.
Sure.
But of course, I think that you should inquire about the media now that we can check on website like all the information about the different law firms, or maybe just look for recommendations. But listen, just to make sure what kind of recommendation. It's normally better if I were going to buy something outside Mexico, I will stick to what my agent suggests, and then do my own inquiry according to the suggestions that my agent gives me.
So would it be like a good idea, say, for somebody that is looking and maybe they want to have more than one opinion, for them to ask for a phone call or a consultation to be able to talk to maybe a couple of different attorneys, so that they can make sure that the person that was recommended, that they're very comfortable with?
Yeah. I actually, Susie and I, we used to do that always. Like when she has potential buyers, it's important for you, I know, to make them feel comfortable with the transaction and be clear on what they are doing. So Susie always used to bring those potential buyers to my office for a meeting, for me explaining the whole closing process, and of course answer all of their questions, because I understand that buying outside your country could be a bit challenging, and you need to be kind of brave to do that. So it's always good to feel comfortable.
And it's always good sometimes, because people come from different countries and they want their attorney from their home country to look over the transaction, but that's really not the most convenient thing, because the laws are different, right?
They are different, but I have had clients that wants to do that. I'm not against that, and what I said, if that makes them feel comfortable, I used to say, just include them in our meeting or a Zoom or a call, and I can answer the questions of that person that they maybe know for years and they trust. So it's always good.
No, it's just so you guys know, yes, with Brenda, I've been working for years, and everything that is like also on my personal business, she handles as well. So I mean, like I am like, they're sitting here because we've worked with them for a long time. So let's keep going. All right, let's see, what else do we have here? What are the patterns that you've seen with investors' issues? What is something that is always happening when an investor is coming to purchase? Is there like a particular hiccup, problem, something that they have, or is it really just on a case-by-case basis?
It's case by case. Not all of the transactions are like the same. But you mean like issues from them, what happened after they purchase, or when they are purchasing something that they are doing wrong?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, like that second one, like if they're doing something that might not be like right. Yes.
Maybe. Sometimes, like I have seen, and I understand that everybody wants to have a fair price or something. But sometimes I have seen people like trying to skip some of the costs that maybe I won't skip, because it's necessary, like again, like my example of the doctor. If the doctor says that you need to do this and this exam, it's for something, so maybe just to trust, of course, question about what this expense is, I understand that, or maybe have different quotes. but not saving on things that are really necessary, because most of the times unfortunately I have seen clients that all of these things works against them, and of course at the end it's more expensive of what they save.
So they try to like save a penny here, save a penny there, and they end up paying more in the end. Because I know that like closing cost is something that is very different here than in other countries. They're higher. But also I feel that at the end, whenever you're maintaining a property, like those costs are going to be less, right? It evens out in the end, no?
Yeah, exactly. And it's different. Like I understand in other countries, like we have majority of Canadians and Americans here, and back there the closing costs are really very low. And here it's higher, but of course it's nothing compared, like the property tax payment that has to be paid annually is nothing compared on what they paid back in their country. Okay, so I guess what we could say is don't try to save, because you know that these things are gonna come, and I know that it might be shocking at the beginning, but in the end, as you're maintaining the property, like those costs are gonna be much lower than in your home country, I guess would be the lesson there, right? Yeah.
So can foreigners really trust the legal system in Mexico before purchasing real estate here?
Yes, they can. They can do. The legal system, it's valid, and it's here for everybody, no matter if it's nationals or foreigners. It's for everybody, so they can trust. I understand that it could be challenging for them because maybe outside Mexico things are faster or different than in Mexico, but the legal system, it's to defend everybody, so they can trust.
So I guess as long as you follow the process and you do things the way that is legal, then you are going to have protections. It's when you try and cut corners, or you think that that things might not be necessary to do, that's when you can run into problems, right? So as long as you follow the rules, you're good.
Yes.
Okay, so I guess what are some of the protections that exist for an international buyer?
Well, for example, when they purchase on a trust, the property, it's really blinded in a way, because the bank, the fiduciary bank that is holding the trust, is the one that can do any modification. But they want if the beneficiary of the property instruct to them in writing, and that instruction has to be notarized. So that's really good for them. And of course, the thing that we spoke about, their beneficiaries, like in case they pass away, the fiduciary bank has in advance like their instructions to whom pass the property.
Okay, no, but that's true. I mean, look, as you know, I have trust also on different things that we've worked together. So I guess like a big thing that people are always afraid of, because there's some information out there that says that because it's in a trust, you don't really own the property. Can you dismantle that myth and explain why that's not the case? Why is it that, yes, with the trust, you are indeed the owner of the property?
The thing is that the trust is the legal structure that the Mexican government find for somehow have knowledge about who owns the properties that are on the borders. But that doesn't mean that the bank, the fiduciary bank has to be a Mexican bank. It doesn't mean that they own the property. They are part of the structure, but they are handling the trust. But the beneficiary is the only one that with the right to do any modification, to sell the property, to receive the payment. The fiduciary bank is regulated by a federal law that regulates the bank. So
you're protected, and nobody's going to take your property, and nobody can do that because it's in the Mexican Constitution, right?
Correct.
Very good.
Not in the Mexican Constitution, but in the bank law.
In the bank
special law, yeah.
Okay, very good. So there we go. See, so clarifying that not in the Constitution, but in the banking laws. Oh, very good. Let's see. What would you say to someone who is still nervous about being scammed, about being cheated?
Well, as long as they do the correct things and have an agent, because normally the agents, of course, want to sell something to the property to the buyers,
Of course.
that it's going to be a good experience, because
Absolutely, 100%.
yeah,
yes.
nowadays everybody reputation it's important, you know.
Very much
so. Having an agent, it's a good thing, because the agents that are locals, they know who the developers are, who has good reputation and who doesn't. So of course everything could happen on a pre-construction, because you are purchasing at one point, but there is a timeline when that you have to wait to get your property. But doing the correct things, like having an agreement that has been reviewed by somebody on your side, you should be fine.
And it's important for the agent to be licensed. I mean, I think that this is an important indication, a licensed agent, because hasn't it been now it's being enforced, whereas before in the past you didn't necessarily need a license, but now you do?
Yes, you are. You have to be licensed, and of course, like every document you have to get, it's to like based on something. So the licensed agents have experience and have gone to certain classes to be able to provide like a good recommendation, you know. So it's always it's enforceable and it's better.
Yes, okay, so very good. So we have the two pluses, licensed, and just because you have to follow protocol rules and take tests and make sure that you're competent, and you're able to check that very, very easily. Just ask anybody you're working with for their license. They should be able to show it to you, right?
Of course.
Very good. I guess a little bit into like inheritance laws, because this is something that is very important for foreign buyers. So, so they make sure that their heirs are protected via the trust, because they're able to put them in as beneficiaries. If they opted for a corporation, how could they make sure that the heirs were protected?
We recommend to do a Mexican will here. It could be a mirror of the will they have in their country.
Okay.
But the thing is that when something happened to, or when the owners pass away, it's easier to make valid a will that it's done in Mexico, granted in Mexico, than outside, because they have to bring the will to a Mexican court to do the homologation, to do the translation, and it's kind of complicated for the beneficiaries that maybe are not in their best time to go to follow all of this process. So it's always a recommendation to do under those conditions, and also for the people that has trust. The people that used to live here, that have the property, we recommend to do a will also.
A Mexican will?
A Mexican will, because
awesome.
They may have cars, they may have bank accounts in Mexico, and of course the trust, by appointing the substitute beneficiaries, it's protecting that beneficiaries to get the property, but not the other things. So if you're living here, should be good to have your Mexican will also.
Wow, okay, very good. See, that was my next question. Now you answer without me having to ask it. Well, Brenda, that was super informational. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I hope that we'll be able to see a lot more of each other soon. So you guys, Tapia Marquez Law, they're based in Playa del Carmen. They are awesome. I have been working with them for years, and if you need more information, you can always reach out to us at susimacdonald.com. I also want to thank Grupo de Sur for allowing us to use this beautiful property on the project that they're just finishing in Playa del Carmen. It is on 34. It's called Studio 34. And if you want more information, please visit our website, susimacdonald.com, or shoot us an email at info@susimacdonald.com. Have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.